My name is Maya. I work with Spinal Cord Injury BC. So we're a local nonprofit. We have offices around the province, and what we do is we help people with spinal cord injuries and related disabilities adjust and adapt and thrive after their injuries. So we're a support network, whether you're like getting back to real living and people to show you how to do that, or just information about every part of your injury and how to live with that. And every year we put out an annual report, as organizations do, and we've actually started putting out one that is print and one that's online. That's a totally different website from the print version. So I'll just give you guys a quick look at what that looks like. So our print one this year, we celebrated 60 years. And what we've been doing for that is we had a designer do a template for us a few years ago, and since then we've just used that template and modified it. So sadly for the designer, saving costs on design, but enabling us to kind of insert the information that we wanted for that next year. I'll just quickly scroll through that, and it's online, so you guys can have a look later if you want. So I guess one of the things that makes our annual reports unique is that we don't have a huge long message from, as Chad and I were talking about, our board or our executive director. We do have a little blurb here, but it's usually something that's pretty fun, light, and speaks to the theme of the annual report. So basically, yeah, that's what that looks like. We try to make it really photo heavy. We use a lot of quotes. One of the things we don't always do, but should be doing, is captioning our photos, because it's a waste of a photo to not be able to say what that moment is, and that means you're not having to actually tell an entire story. You can just say when that photo was taken, and you're succeeding in that. And then at the very back we have some great stories before that, some stats, and at the very back we have our financial statements and our thank yous, along with some highlights, side by side, so you can see what we're thankful for. So that's what that looks like. This year, I didn't actually do the web annual report, which tells you about the grief of building annual reports. But I did one last year that I loved, so I'll give you guys just a quick sample of what that was like. Last year, our theme was Little Things, Big Impact. So the challenge was to lay it out in a way that was still digestible for people that were looking for the old structure, and also a fun way for people that were looking to kind of be interactive with the new website. So up here, you can click right through to the things that you're looking for. So if you want the financials or the facts and figures, they're right up there, and that'll just take you down to where the financials are on this infinite scrolling page. But the rest of it is kind of a story that we were hoping people that look at this want to go through from beginning to end. So what we did, we went with a "We've got you covered from A to Z" theme. And then we just kind of picked a detail for every letter. So that's our motto: adjust, adapt, and thrive. I'll just scroll through this a little bit. Here we have belonging and a video that speaks to what it means to belong in a community. Coffee and connections, throwing in some stats there, but kind of weaving them in a more natural and organic way, so you don't feel like you're looking at data. Oh, data. So you are looking at data, and that brings up this map. All kinds of things like this. I'll just go down to one of my favorite letters, which is, so actually this one's a good one. I think often we're so focused on telling the stories of our members that we don't realize that we can be telling the stories of our staff members as well. And I think that's one of the ways that you can really show your donors and your supporters that you're part of the work, when you can share those stories of what staff are doing. So Heather is our info line specialist, and we featured her in our annual report, because then people feel like they can get to know you, get to know the work that you're doing firsthand. And then moving right along to my favorite part. Numbers, no, this one. So some of the letters we had to get creative on. We had nothing that happened with an O. But we kind of wanted to capture this attitude that we have going on, which is getting people back to doing the things they never thought would be possible. So our O was, "Oh, I could never do that." And then we just pulled quotes from what people had said to us throughout the year. So, "Oh, I could never feel beautiful again," or "hit the waves with my daughter." or race 5K. Bring my mom to an event. So yes, I'll give you guys the link to this if you want to look through it. I'm super proud of it and love it, and I feel like you should look at it from A to Z. The why is a little shout out to you, so you'll want to get all the way down there. And now for the actual presentation. Am I at like 2 minutes left? Okay. Actually, while I'm still here. So we have organizations throughout Canada, and we partner with them on some things. And to give you an example of another annual report and of a theme that was done very literally, which I do not recommend, we have Spinal Cord Injury Spinal Cord Injury Ontario. So they do a great job of putting their reports online as well. But I think what you want to avoid is to use a theme that's very, very literal. So theirs is the harvest, which means you're seeing apples and apple bullet points and going out on a limb and pie charts that are literal apple pie charts. So it's cute, but it doesn't evoke what we do. It looks like it might be for a farming organization or something like that. This year's was construction and Lego based. So again, I think your theme needs to come from the actual programming that you do and not from something that's outside of that. Okay. Planning your report. So the first thing we plan, sort of, is the theme. These top things are themes that we've done for the last 4 years, just to give you an idea of the kind of themes that we do. So 60 years, that was a natural fit since it happens only once. Little things, big impact was the one before, reaching out, community. Basically, our themes are usually centered around the people that we serve. So I think there's two ways to go about picking a theme. Either you keep your eyes open for themes that emerge throughout the year, or if you know that you need to cover something like our 60-year anniversary, you set it at the beginning of the year and you look for stories that fit into that theme. And I think you can pretty much twist any story to fit into the theme that you're looking for. So there's lots of, I think, hopefully I'm not infringing on what you're talking about, but there's lots of places to dig for those stories. So member stories is an obvious one, but I think interesting donations, for example, is kind of a good little detail to keep in mind. So we got our first Bitcoin donation this year. Last year we had a van donation, which was a great story for us because it spoke to a longtime member that we had who was able to pass on his accessible vehicle to another person. Staff successes or interesting initiatives that maybe other nonprofits aren't doing are great stories. And once you've set that out, kind of what you're looking for, and towards the end of your process, you want to make sure that your tone and your voice is consistent. So that's not just your writing. It is your writing, but it's not just that. So you're looking at design. So pick a few key colors, keep your font the same throughout, and keep your visual style the same. So if your photos are light and bright, try to keep that kind of photo from beginning to end, and that'll just help tie your theme together. And then I love to bring up my theme at the very end. So if it's together, I'll bring it up in the beginning, but then I'll leave it throughout that word, keeping it in mind throughout. Okay, so when you're planning, I think the question I ask myself is, how do I want people to see our organization and the work that we're doing? And you come up with a few key ideas, or I do, about what we want to be seen as. So we want to be seen as having an impact that's super wide-reaching. How are we going to accomplish that in our annual report? Well, it's by using photos that are from around the province so that all of our members can recognize their communities in our photos. It's by being super diverse in the people that we're featuring, and we absolutely get called out on that when we're not. It is by looking at the broader impact. We also like to be seen as forward-thinking because we want people to support our initiative as a nonprofit that knows, that's tuned in, and that's like moving ahead with big ideas. So that's kind of where design comes in, a tone that's fun and fresh, and then just showing new activities that you maybe haven't seen before. So we're not just doing coffee groups, we're doing paddle boarding with like a wheelchair on a paddle board, and we're doing cool things like that that capture the imagination and stick with you in the long run. And then, of course, we want to be approachable and relatable, so there's tone and all that. It's up there. And we want to display our unique connection. So this is why you should give to us, because we are uniquely positioned to help this group of people. And that is just being really candid. You know, it's sharing those quotes that are super heartfelt and that you have received that you can then pass on to your audience. And just being honest about staff contributions, people's experiences, of course, with their permission. And interesting partnerships around the province. So these are just some ideas, but of course your goals might be different in your annual report and what you want your organization to be seen as. Target audience. Donors, members, and sponsors and funders are our key target audiences. I've put little hearts and money and ideas above their heads because I think that they all get the same things from the report, but in different ways. So, for example, if a donor sees a beautiful report, they feel great about it. It's like heartwarming to them. This is great work that they've done. We're not asking for them for money. We're reporting back on the work that we've been able to achieve with their money. And that makes them want to give money, and maybe also gives them some ideas. With members, it's more like it gives them ideas of the cool things that are happening around the province and warms their hearts to the organization. And with sponsors and funders, it might give them a new idea on how they can partner with us in a different way or how they can donate in a different way. And then, of course, we have our secondary audiences. So our staff regularly consult our reports just for stats, for stories. We send them around to interns and volunteers if we want to entice them to come work with us, and our board members also feel special when they get to see the cool work we're doing. So 3 formats that we deal with at our organization. The print format is just this. It's a booklet that's in print. The PDF is this, but PDF'd, like I showed you here. And the online one is that other website. That's a totally different experience, but has the same information woven in throughout it. And they all have slightly different audiences and uses. So, and then of course we advertise our annual report because we're proud of it and it has a lot of great information. So this is a postcard that we sent out, or that we gave out actually at our AGM. So that's the front. The back was like a summary of our annual report in a postcard. So these were the interesting stats, kind of like we pulled something from everything and threw it in here. And then of course that was very shareable on social media. And people wanted to pass it along to their friends. We had it at our offices. The process. So I'll look at print versus online. The print process, I think if you're timing it, you have to start backwards because everything takes its certain amount of time. So mailing it out takes time, getting it printed takes time. And of course there's always like rush orders, which I regularly put in, but it's a panic and you don't want to get to that stage. Proofing, design. So some of these things I've actually put in navy blue, which is the things that you may or may not control yourself. So if you're hiring out for a designer, you need to allot for that extra time to get the design in, to get the edits back, and if you have an X amount of edits, you're going to want time for that. Stats and names. In our organizations, it's like hounding people for statistics that we need to put in. The donor list too is like so many different emails getting the donor list together. So that's a lot of time as well, and you need to get started on that early. And then the stuff that's within your control, if you're making the report, is probably more the stories, the photos, things that you can gather yourself. If you're doing it online, in a separate website, it all kind of becomes a giant swirl. So it's all the same content. You can reorganize it in any way you like. You can leave it to the last minute and stress about it profusely before the annual general meeting. And in the end it comes out and it's published and you can change anything you want. It's super forgiving. So that is, that's one of the things I love about the online version is that you can absolutely make mistakes. Same thing actually with a PDF. If you make mistakes, you can re-PDF that annual report that hasn't been sent out to people. And yeah, like you don't need to put everything in your report the first time it goes live for the online one. You can keep adding and building throughout. You want like most of it there probably if you're presenting it, but. And some of the benefits. So print, it's expected, as in that's a good thing. Organizations, for the most part, are expected to have some kind of version of a print annual report. It's a good physical leave behind if you're going to meet sponsors, potential sponsors, or families, anything like that. Good visual stories. forces you to get it down to your key content, your best content, which is great. Like you have to edit, and only the best stuff goes into your current one. And it's a sure way to reach those donors that don't have email. It still goes into their mailbox, which means that you're reaching an entire donor, like for us, an entire section of donors that we wouldn't otherwise reach. Online, it's unexpected, which is also a good thing. It kind of shows that you're innovative, you're forward thinking, and you're doing big things and making big changes in the community. It's interactive, so our online report has a video in it. It has links linking through to other things. So for example, that might be a story about someone and how she enjoyed an event, and that will link through to photos of that event. Or we'll have maps where it's like, click here to see where we're located around the province, and it brings up points. It allows you to put extra content, it's emailable, and it's totally adjustable afterwards. So, in summary, I think the big thing about planning your report is that you do want to focus on the details, but what you want to get from it is that feeling of that people were there for the ride with you, or if they weren't, that they should have been. This quote I always pull up, and I laugh when people do, but it is really applicable to a lot of the work we do, which is that people are going to forget the things you said and did, but they won't forget how you make them feel. So that's the general idea, is to give them a feeling through your report. So for us, it's not an ask for money, it's more of a thank you, and here's the great work that we all did together. Make every element work for you. So like I said, caption your images, and use quotes to tell your stories. That saves you the grief of having to write them from scratch. They're already done for you. Look outside the nonprofit world for inspiration, because as we know, people with profits are way ahead of us, and there's a lot of great things happening there, and there's no reason those things shouldn't be happening in the nonprofit world. And there's a variety of free tools that you can use and that I use. So for my online annual reports, I love just the infinite scroll, because it's one page, it's simple. It goes through and you don't have to build out an entire website. So you're not having to make menus with drop downs and things like that. If you guys don't use the Noun project for your, I'm absolutely in love with the Noun project, and I was feeling like, should I reveal this secret trick to a room full of people? Because it makes me look like a designer. But the Noun project, you know what? Can I demonstrate it?
You should do this.
Okay. So, but I'll say the last thing too. There's a bunch of free stock photo websites. So one of the things that I think make our annual reports work really well is that we don't use stock photos, but if you need to use those stock photos, both of those have beautiful free stock shots, and you don't even need to credit the photographers. That said, it's nice if you do. And the Noun project is the most magical place on the internet. So what it is, it's designers have submitted anything and everything. So what do you guys want me to search?
Pickles.
Great. There's so many pickles. Literally like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So how this works is you can buy it and not have to quote cite who made it. I think it costs like $2 to buy one. Or you can put a citation somewhere small in your project. They come you download them in PNG format, and yeah, you make them work for you. So anytime you need an icon, this has everything. You can also combine them, you know, you have a man eating pickles or whatever, man in a wheelchair eating pickle. Yeah, I think like this is my favorite place, like I said, on the internet. My one word of caution is that when you're picking, because there's so much to choose from, choose things that look good together. So of the same style. So basically similar line thickness, like look like they were drawn maybe by the same artist. Yeah. And that is the end of my presentation.